What is up, team? Welcome back to the channel. Today you are in luck. We are taking on our first Polaris project. It is a 2016 Polaris 900 XP. It has a crank no start issue. The background noise you hear is young Jet Lawrence out there ripping around the front field, so I got to keep an eye on him too. But I read some forums, so I have a couple ideas of what might be wrong with it, plus just general mechanic stuff. Let's get into it, see if we can figure it out. All right, guys, so here's what we're dealing with today. It's kind of intermittent. Apparently when it warms up, it's no longer an issue. Okay, so that's what we have going on. One of the things I read was it could be a low voltage issue. The battery looks like it was just replaced last year. We're still running right around 12 volts, and I'll show it to you when I'm cranking on it so you can kind of see what we have going on there as well. Okay, I don't think it's going to be a low voltage issue, but just for the heck of it, let's hook the battery charger up to it and see if it makes any difference. I'll show you how to get to the battery on this thing. Okay, so on a 2016 two-seater, the Ranger, there's no latch or anything. You're just going to reach back here. You're going to lift up on the passenger seat. Okay, you're going to find that there is a storage container usually right here. You'll just lift that storage container out, and then underneath it you will find a 12-volt battery. This one looks like it was replaced in 11 of 24, so less than a year old. Should still be in pretty good shape. We threw the battery charger on it. Let's fire that up and we'll get another volt read on it and see if it makes any difference. All right, guys, we got the battery charger on it. I've been letting it set for a minute. We're up to 14.4 volts and climbing. Let's see if it makes any difference on our start here. Okay, so really no difference. It is starting sometimes, but I'm sure you guys can probably hear how rough it is running once it does start. So let's check a couple other things. All right, guys, let's take a deep dive and get under the bed on this thing. I'll show you what I've come up with so far. So I did check the fuel pressure on it. We'll run around to the other side and I'll show you that in just a minute. But here's what I think might be part of our issue. I think we might have a very dirty throttle body that is sticking. And I will see if I can get the stand out and show you what that looks like when I've got a crank no start going on. I had my wife come out and crank on it for me. And basically what it's doing is the throttle body isn't opening at all. If you apply a little bit of pressure to the throttle pedal, when you get that throttle body butterfly to open up a little bit, it fires right off. So I think this is probably going to be one of our issues. Also, feeling inside the boot from the air box to the throttle body, and there's a lot of dirty, grimy, oily film in there. So I think this whole system needs to be cleaned, as well as the throttle body. But I'll show you what I'm seeing. Maybe you guys are having the same issue I am. Hang on just a minute. All right, guys, I know the angle is a little weird on that. I recruited my 7-year-old off his dirt bike to help me film this. But I think that might be our issue. It's certainly not good. If you noticed, it chatters a little bit and then closes when I turn the key on. And then when I go to start it, it never opens up at all. And if I put just a little bit of pressure on it, it fires right up. So we're gonna start by removing this throttle body unit and this intake hose. We'll clean the intake hose, we'll clean the throttle body unit, and then we're gonna look inside our plenum and see how that looks. I've also heard that this air intake temp sensor can give you some troubles, and it can be cleaned as well. It does look like ours is reading fairly accurate. It's not bouncing around a lot. So I think that's probably okay. Let's just start with this and see what that gains us. All right, guys, this is an electronic part. There's a throttle by wire. There is no cable. So whenever we're working on electronics, I like to make sure that we have the battery unhooked. So we're just gonna remove this ground side, then we'll clean the terminals up. When we go to put it back on, make sure we have a good connection. So I read that these things have some issues with filtration. Yeah, you look, there's a lot of dirt and grime in there. That's just going straight into that throttle body, which is not healthy for the throttle body or the engine. Let's go ahead and pull the plug on this while we're here. I think that's the only electronic component on it. I also noticed this lead right here that's hooked to nothing. I don't think that Polaris would have done that from the factory. Could be wrong. If you guys know what that wire is supposed to go to, drop it in the comments, let me know. We have some Torx head fasteners right here. Looks like 4 of them. So it is a little bit tight in here. You're not gonna be able to see much while I'm working on it. I'll do the best I can, but what you're probably gonna see next is this unit sitting out on the bench. And we're gonna do that by just removing these 4 Torx head bits. All right, guys, as you can see, we got it out and it is very dirty. Yeah, super dirty in there, guys. So we're gonna give it a good clean inside and out. And we're also gonna clean the inside of that plenum because it looks pretty dirty as well. And then we'll get this unit back on and see if it makes any difference. All right, guys, I think we got it cleaned up pretty well. I just used some throttle body cleaner and we cleaned the throat of it as well as the body. And then we blew it out with a little bit of low pressure air. I think it looks pretty good. So let's go put it back on the unit, see if it makes any difference at all. All right, team, throttle body is cleaned, hooked back up. Here's what I will caution you. These are T30 heads. They're just screwing into this plastic plenum. So a little bit of a knock on Polaris for this. It would have been nice if they would have put like a metal threaded insert inside the plenum, and these would have been like an actual bolt thread, but they're like a really coarse plastic thread, or really coarse thread to go into that plastic. I don't love that. We did clean up the sealing surface on it and got her bolted up, snugged back down. We did a cross pattern to tighten it, make sure we didn't crack or flex any of the plastic behind it. So it should be good. Let's hit the key on it and see what happens. Okay, I like that way better. It is running a little bit rough still. I called the owner who told me that they put this fuel in the unit last winter. So we've got 8 to 10 months of this fuel in here, and it's almost full. Let's give her the old sniff test. Yeah, that's pretty much nail polish remover. Whoa, that's some varnish. So let's get this fuel out of here. Let's put some fresh fuel in it. I'm also gonna check the spark plugs. Let's just see what kind of burn we're getting out of it. And then we'll finish cleaning up this tube and get it put back on and get this thing on the road, see how it runs. All right guys, here's a little trick for getting fuel siphoned out. If you don't have an electric pump and you don't want to suck on the hose, you take a garden hose, put a little slit in it right there, and then take your air nozzle, punch your air nozzle through and point your air nozzle so it's blowing air out this end. Make sure you're good and down in the fuel. Have it setting over your gas can. Just like that. We picked up a good siphon. Keeps you from having to suck up a bunch of gas, guys. Okay guys, so the first 5 gallons I pulled out and I put in a 5-gallon can, and then I thought, I want to see what it looks like. So I started draining it into this clean 5-gallon bucket. And this is all the sediment and grossness that was left over after I transferred it back to a can. It was also pretty yellow and hazy. So I'm going to say probably not great fuel. So we're going to put some fresh fuel in it. I'm also going to dump a bottle of injector cleaner in it, because if we've been pumping that through the whole system, it's probably good to get it cleaned out. My understanding is these have a fuel pump in the tank, and there is a screen on the fuel pump, and that is your filter. We do have good fuel pressure, but if that's the way the fuel looks, it's probably not going to be long before we have to pull that out and clean that screen. But let's just see what some fresh fuel and injector cleaner does for now. All right, guys, let's see what we can do about getting these spark plugs out of here and taking a look at them. So they're 5/8. They are pretty deep. So if you have a spark plug socket, I would use a spark plug socket. All right, guys, I got the spark plugs out. The one closest to us is the old spark plug. It's not bad. It has a pretty good burn. It's got a nice kind of brownish color to it. It is a little bit darker than I would like, but overall it's not too bad. Here's our new one. They are NGK MR7Fs, and the recommended spark plug gap specification is 0.03. So I'm going to use my gap tool. I will gap the spark plugs. We're going to throw a little anti-seize on the threads, and then we'll put some grease on the boots so that everything comes back apart nice and easy. We aren't ripping boots or galling threads on this thing. We'll throw some fresh plugs in it. All right, guys, we have our new spark plug here. We're going to gap it to 30 thousandths. Okay. A little bit of anti-seize on the threads. I like to always make sure and start these by hand. If you do start to feel a cross thread, you don't want to just have a wrench on there going to town on it. They have a crush washer around the edge. If you notice, I have the whole handle here, but you don't need it. That's it. Okay. You can get these little packets. They're usually right by the register at most auto parts stores. It's pretty cheap insurance. It's like $1, and it will keep, when these boots get hot, it will keep the boot from seizing to the spark plug. And since these are so far down in the head, if you rip this boot and it chunks off, it's gonna be really hard to get the spark plug and the boot out. So for $1, I think it's well worth it. Pretty sure I did not open that correctly, but you just want to take a little bit and put it right in the spark plug. And then you just manipulate it around. And then you should, I don't know if you guys could hear it, but you should feel and hear a little click when you get that boot back on. And then we're just going to remove the other spark plug and do the same thing over here. And I already have the new spark plug on the bench prepped and ready to go. This one looks pretty good too. It's got a decent burn on it. The electrode's not all burn out. So let's get that new spark plug for it. So this one has already been gapped and we have a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. We'll start it by hand. And a little grease in the boot. Good firm click. Just like that, you got a spark plug change. Let's pour some fresh fuel in it, bottle of injector cleaner, and then I'm gonna back it out and let it run for a few minutes. Let that fresh fuel actually get into this system. All right, team, here's what we've got so far. We cleaned the throttle body. We cleaned the intake tube. We tested the battery, which tested out good. We put some fresh spark plugs in it. We put some fresh fuel in it. That's 5. And I'm out of fingers on this hand and I'm holding the camera with the other hand, so let's try it. I also had to back it out into the driveway. Sorry, that's why it's so dark. I have a newborn baby sleeping inside and I'm trying not to wake him up. Okay, I liked that. That was pretty good. Just make sure that wasn't just an accident. One more time. All right, guys, I feel pretty good about that. I'm gonna call that a success. All right, team, that is gonna do it for our little Polaris project. Overall, pretty quick and easy fix. Took a little bit of time. We are gonna get it out on the trail tomorrow. I'm meeting up with the owner, so I'm gonna let it sit outside tonight where it's nice and cool. Make sure we're still gonna get a good start on it in the morning. But other than that, I think it's pretty well wrapped up, guys. I would expect to probably see this machine back on the channel at some point. Just probably for routine maintenance or if something big comes up. Subscribe to the channel. It'll fix your algorithm. It'll fix our algorithm. Please comment. This is the first Polaris that I've worked on, period. Whether it be four-wheelers or side-by-sides. Let me know if there's something that I'm missing, something I can improve on, something that you guys would like to see for video content in the future, whatever it may be. Please let us know, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great night.